Welcome to my messy life. Take my hand and dive right on in with me. It's gonna be alright. Messy imperfect life with Leigh.
Hi, Andrea Joy.
Hello, Leigh.
I love that your last name is. Did you marry Joy?
I did marry Joy
Because it suits you.
You know, it does. It's kind of funny. I mean, I immediately got rid of my last name because it is such a great last name, Joy. I didn't know when I got married, this is kind of the path that I would be on, that now it really means a lot more to me than it did before. But I think it's an awesome last name.
It's a beautiful last name. And that's so interesting about last names because who I was when I met Dave, you know, however our human minds work, I didn't like so much or where I was so much. And when I married Dave, I felt so at home and connected to another person. I was like so happy to let my last name go and to join with him. And because I really feel like his unconditional love with me got me on my healing path. His acceptance of me allowed me to start to accept myself and just start working through my stuff.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So I was so happy to have his last name.
I didn't feel the same way. There's 3 girls in my family. And so I wanted to keep my maiden name, which was Sains.
What was it?
Sains.
Sains?
And I thought, whoever I marry, I'm going to hyphen the last name. But then Joy was too awesome. So, and I tell my daughter now, like, you should need to keep that last name unless you meet somebody and his last name's Holiday, like, or something great.
Yes.
Like, because it's just not, she can't drop it. It's too great.
It's so beautiful.
Yes. So I do. Most people don't think it's my last name. They think it's my middle name.
Yeah.
I just dropped the last name. I'm just that. But
yeah.
It just worked out great.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so what you started off saying right away, like, this is the path when I married him that I knew I would be on. What does that mean?
You know, I didn't know what I was going to be doing in my life. I felt like I was kind of just existing, and I never had lots of things I think I wanted to do. Not a lot of guidance. So I always had jobs. That's what I felt like. I always had jobs.
Yeah.
And even when I met you, I mean, that was just a job.
Okay, so I forgot to say. So Andrea and I worked together at a little company called Video Symphony.
Digital Symphony.
Oh, digital.
It was a part of Video Symphony, and then it kind of branched off into Digital Symphony.
And we ended up like in Burbank in a little sliver hallway in some dingy place. And I had worked at really beautiful big post houses. All of a sudden I was in this little corridor.
You came from Encore, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
And before that I was at Hollywood Digital. And before that I was at CIS, which they do, I can't remember now, but they do really high-end special effects. So it's the most beautiful facility you've ever seen with like the wealthiest studio people coming in. So everything was top of the line. And then all of a sudden I'm in a back corner in Burbank in some dingy hall with some old lady screaming at me. Remember her?
What was her name?
Rita?
Yes, that was her name.
And she was like a little commercial mad at me screaming. I was like, what in the hell have I walked into? What happened to me?
Yes. So I don't know if many people know that what you dealt with was renting dongles.
I don't even know what I was doing there. What was I doing there?
That's what you were making work orders for people to rent equipment, editing equipment. And all I can think of, it was like the conversations were about dongles.
Dongles. Was I renting out like Avids and stuff for?
Absolutely.
Okay. Because that's what I was doing at one point. And then somehow I got shuffled into a Burbank office.
Yes. And I was working like as the assistant in like the accounting department part, and then kind of doing work orders. Like, it was just a job.
Didn't we end up in cubicles next to each other or something?
At one point we were like one away, but I remember always sneaking in and like hanging out with you. But I was getting in trouble for doing that too.
Yeah. So we worked together for how long? Like 6 months or a year?
I think like a year it was, because you got pregnant with Charlie.
Oh my gosh. So yes, I was working with Andrea, I was married to Dave, but we had no kids, and I got pregnant with Charlie.
Yes.
And I gained.
You were really happy.
Oh my gosh. You don't know what kind of pregnant woman you're going to be. I had no idea that I would gain. I think, Charlie came 5 weeks early, and that's when the kid really puts on weight at the end, and you get some substantial weight at the end because the kid's doubling in size, whatever. But before that happened, I was at 75 pounds. So they were like, you would have easily been 85 to 90. I was like, what on earth?
It's a full person.
And I would eat what the doctor said, and then I would eat fried cheese and some other things.
All those lovely things.
Oh my God. Oh my gosh. Like I was like, oh, but doesn't I can eat what I want after I ate a whole meal of healthy. So it was very unusual. I don't know what happened. And I remember my doctor saying, just so you know, you've gained 25 pounds, but your baby is almost a millimeter, like maybe 5 centimeters. And so it doesn't need that much. And I was like, oh, thanks for telling me. See you later.
I totally remember. It was fun.
Yeah. And then you got pregnant how long after?
Well, when was Charlie born?
In May.
He was May
99.
99. Madison was born March 2000.
So you got pregnant
right after.
Right after me.
Yes.
Oh,
and
wow.
I remember so vividly because you were obviously on, you weren't on maternity leave. It was like you had the baby. You didn't know what you were having. Yeah. And I remember you left me a voicemail at work. So I walk in and you're like whispering. It sounds like you're under a ton of covers. You're like, Andrea Joy, I had a baby and it's a boy. And I just, your little tiny voice, and you're like, I've been in intensive care, and it's a long story, but I had a baby boy, and you were so excited, and it was really sweet. And I remember because I'd gone to work and like that had happened.
Yeah, because mine was an emergency deal.
Yes.
I started hemorrhaging, went straight to the hospital, and I was there for like 2 weeks.
Yeah.
And then, I wasn't ready because it was over a month before.
Yeah.
Are you getting tears in your eyes?
No. Well, I remember that. It was really,
traumatic.
Really traumatic. It was a really tough time.
It was so traumatic. Yeah. It was really intense. Like when I speak about it now, it's just a memory. But back in the day, it was so devastating.
Absolutely.
And they removed my uterus and just the whole thing with Dave, the 3 hours being awake and going through that trauma. And it was so interesting. I found out that what I had, placenta accreta, 10 years ago was 100% mortality rate. And when I got it, it was 50-50. Wow. So if you go in, it's not guaranteed you're coming out because you lose more blood than they can put in. And if they can't get it to clot, you literally just bleed out. Which it was a really wild ass thing because I was like, let me get this straight. I finally meet my freaking man. I think I was 33 when I had Charlie, and I was ready to have a big family. I'm from a big, you know what I mean? It's just, life is interesting as hell.
It is interesting I always think it's interesting, our paths, how we met each other. I only have one child. Physically, you've only had one child.
Yeah.
Really great pregnancy, terrible delivery, all of that.
Right.
I had a terrible pregnancy, terrible delivery, all of that. And
were you throwing up?
Oh, yeah.
You were sick the whole time.
Sick the whole time. Pelvis dislocated from carrying her. I had a C-section, felt them cut me open. They put me out completely. It was a really crazy.
Oh my gosh.
So
it's like barbaric.
Just a little bit.
I can feel you making the incision.
My husband's saying, just breathe. Just breathe.
No, they're cutting me open. They're doing surgery and I can feel it.
That's exactly what happened. Exactly what happened. So, but I just think those moments led you onto a spiritual path. I believe that was the beginning of, for me, a lot of spiritual stuff happening. It didn't show up how I thought it would. I really turned it into becoming super OCD after I had my daughter. And
why?
I felt so out of control. It was something I really, really wanted. And then I got her and I felt like, oh my God, how do you, this doesn't feel natural at all. It did not feel natural to me.
Me either.
And yet people were saying that. So then it made me feel really worse. And I kept that bottled in because I wanted this, was supposed to love it. And so what I could control was...
Did you have postpartum depression,
yes.
do you think?
Yeah.
Did they know, or you just know
I
looking
just
back?
really felt like looking back on my behavior, I found myself so controlling to the point of like, I didn't breastfeed because I wouldn't know how much I was feeding her. I think ultimately ended up being a part of that.
Yeah.
I would line up those bottles. They had exactly 8 ounces. She ate in the same place on the couch. She slept in her bed. We were never out for naps. I mean, I was living this militant life to keep her on a schedule and happy and perfect and anything that I could. And that was what was feeding me.
Yeah.
Because I could not connect in this way. It was so weird. And I didn't know at the time what that was kind of about.
Yeah.
But I just really recognized I didn't feel so good at doing anything.
Yeah.
And I've probably been living that way most of my life.
Wow. And it got magnified, with a child.
And it really was a more compacted way of anxiety. And I had anxiety as a kid really bad.
Where did that come from?
You know, as I've gone through this journey and recognizing the biggest component for me is to feel safe. And when I feel safe, like all of that disappears.
Yeah.
I've created that now for my life through a lot of work. But when I was younger, a lot of it came from my home dynamic.
Yeah.
My dad was an alcoholic, but he was the kind of alcoholic that was so loving and kind and actually said the sweetest things when he was drinking. And
that's opposite of most alcoholics get kind of like gruff and mean or angry.
But he was very internal. So I felt like we walked on eggshells a lot. I had a mom, and I still have a mom. My mom was so, and still is, like, just wants everybody to be happy.
Yeah.
And just appeasing to everything. And so I think the biggest issue was, you know, my dad lived in a house with 4 women. And when things got tough for him, his coping skill was, I'm going to take off and go to the base. And he'd be gone for a weekend. So I felt like I was always worrying.
Yeah.
About, when's he coming home? Is he going to come home?
Yeah.
My mom didn't drive. So we were really...
Why didn't your mom drive?
You know, she came from Europe, Germany. She never learned to drive.
Because they have Autobahns there.
Yeah, they have
drive fast.
You know, she just, like, she came here.
Because if she was from New York, I'd say that makes sense. But Germany's like, they drive cars there.
She met my dad when she was really young. He came overseas in the military.
Yeah.
She met her Elvis. My dad did look like Elvis when he was younger.
Aww.
And she married Elvis, and she came over to the United States. And she was, I mean, to this day, she talks about him like that. That's her Elvis. That's, you know.
Is he alive?
My dad is, yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Are they still married?
Yes.
Oh.
My parents are still married.
Do they like each other?
Yeah, I think most of the time, you know, it's just a different generation.
Yeah.
You know, I work really hard at that being really important in my marriage.
What being really important?
Liking each other.
Yeah.
Connecting.
Yeah.
Expanding together.
Yeah.
But that's because I think I got to such a deep, dark place that...
In your marriage?
In my... Not necessarily my marriage with me.
Yeah.
Really, really.
No. I mean, with yourself while you were married, after your baby and you were married already.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I don't really know those kind of things about my parents. They're just not talkers like that. I think it's generational.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. And I found that I used to hold a lot of feelings about that.
Yeah.
Like, I want to know or have answers, and I just don't need them anymore.
Yeah.
I could kind of let that go. Try to be as present as I can with them, love them as much as I can. And you talked about something when I was at your workshop, and I totally was like, oh my God, I feel the same way. Al-Anon was amazing for me.
Oh my gosh.
And I highly recommend, just like you said, everybody should go to Al-Anon.
Al-Anon's like free therapy.
It is. It's fantastic. But Al-Anon really helped me, like, really love my father. Because he's a wonderful man.
And you can have compassion that it's a disease.
Yes, I have compassion for my mother. I have compassion for my father. Actually, I've learned to have compassion for me.
Yeah.
And I stopped feeling like I need to get ahead of everything so much. I mean, I'm human. It happens. I find myself, but at least I have awareness and I find myself doing that. And all of this ended up leading me into the space of being an energy healer.
Oh my gosh. So Andrea and I were not at all kind of doing what we're doing now, right? We were just got married, got pregnant in some office. Exactly. What the hell are we doing with our lives? I hate this. Yep. And I just think that both of us kind of set off on, because now we're fully in what we're supposed to be doing. And it's so neat. I remember Andrea's like, hey, I'm doing this thing, it's Reiki thing. And could I do it on you for free? Because I need to practice to get so many hours for whatever. I was like, hell yeah. And I went over and it was a beautiful experience. And then a few years later, I went back when you had fully owned your power and you fully owned your worth and fully owned the gifts that you had and did it again. And it was just a really transformational experience where I felt so much energy moving, and I felt so much love, and I felt so supported, and I was so proud of you.
Thank you.
I was so proud of you that it was like, hey, this is this thing I'm doing. And then it's like, welcome back. I am a master at, you didn't say these words, but how you conducted yourself and how the session went. I was like, she's mastered the thing. She's taken all the different gifts that God's given her and found a platform to heal, to make a difference, to connect, to create a safe space, a comfortable space. So it's almost like you're going to a spa in the room that you've created. It's like,
thank you.
And it's like getting an incredible massage without necessarily being touched.
My sister calls it yoga for the soul. That's what she tells people, because it is really relaxing. It is. I appreciate you saying all that, because that kind of was my intention, is to make people feel safe. In this whole process, I really healed me a lot. And so when people tell me I feel so safe to cry in front of me or share really sacred, traumatic things, I'm honored. I'm absolutely honored that somebody feels safe enough to do that. We all need to do that.
Yeah.
That's why I love your message. If we could all share our mess, we could really, really be authentic with each other and really connect.
I think that's right. That the mess is like, people are like, I don't want to stay in the mess. I said, no, but we all have mess.
Yes.
And that's where we retract and we go within and we get shameful or we get, disconnected from others. But that's when people desperately want to be of service. They desperately want to help. That's why everyone unites when a tragedy happens. Everyone reaches out when someone gets sick and starts trains. So people are hungry. And if we were sharing our mess more, people could be of service more.
Oh, absolutely. It helps you heal. And then what it encourages you to do is want to help others.
Yeah.
When you feel that you are helping and healing, it's just you want to do that. It's such a good feeling to want to do that. And I feel really, I think the biggest gift that I have found when I first started to do this, it was really overwhelming. Like the energy was so much. And I hadn't realized that that's what all my anxiety was that I was a true empath. I was feeling everybody's energy through the world. I mean, I could not go grocery shopping without holding onto the cart and having my husband with me. My husband was my appendage for a long time.
Why? Because I
couldn't be alone. I was absolutely frightened by energy coming at me before I started to do this.
Oh, but you felt the energy and didn't know what the hell to do with it.
It was horrible. Like I would go down an aisle in the grocery store and like, I gotta get out of here. Like it was overwhelming. Like it was a feeling that I was levitating. It was a feeling like I have no control. It took over my life so much. At one point I wasn't leaving my house. I was hiding from everybody.
Wow.
For my daughter's almost entire elementary school years, I was not okay. I could barely drop her off at our house.
Wow.
I mean, I could barely drop her off at school from our house. Like that was every morning.
Because you had to leave your home?
I had to leave my home.
Oh, man.
And I was riddled with the feeling of feeling everything. And I didn't know what it was. I didn't know.
That could make you feel like a crazy person.
Absolutely.
And people around you going, you can't walk through a freaking store?
I had not gone into Target for 8 or 9 years.
What? Mm-hmm. So this is the time between when I left you to go be a mom mm-hmm. and until we reconnected. Mm-hmm. So in that time, all this was going on.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I didn't even know that.
Yeah. It was really terrible. Really, really terrible. And shameful. I mean, I would go to my daughter's performances in the yard, the schoolyard. I'd make sure she'd see me and I'd run out. I'd go to her performances in the auditorium. And I would do the exact same thing. I'd just make sure she'd see me.
So if she saw you and you were going to run out, why did you have to run out? What were you feeling?
I felt like I was going to die. I couldn't be there. I think I was at such a low of shame, of who am I? What's my worth? I felt like a terrible mother. This little angel girl, because she has been an angel since the moment she came out. And I think what really started to happen when she turned 5 years old, she looked exactly like me. And there was something about that triggered something grander, that I was so responsible for this little human. And I think it just reminded me of, I just felt like I couldn't keep her safe. How was I going to be able to keep her safe? I felt like my husband could do it all. And he was. I mean, he was doing...
Yeah, he was picking up for you because you couldn't do the other stuff.
And I was so fearful that like he was going to leave me. He was so wonderful. And
when you're swimming in that mm-hmm. energy of anxiety and fear, everything makes sense that's bad.
Yes. And I was doing the work though. I was trying. I was seeing psychiatrists. I was going to therapy, but I didn't know what this all was. And I didn't recognize that this ability to feel and see things was actually that I've had my whole life, was coming forward and kind of needing to be opened. And I had no skill set for that.
Yeah.
And the person who helped me, shockingly, was my husband's grandmother, who lives in Miami. She is a healer there. She doesn't speak English. She came out to visit so randomly. She just called my mother-in-law and says, I'm coming to visit. And it was in the depths of my depression, anxiety, completely hopeless.
Wow.
And she decides to visit. My mother-in-law's like always saying, like, let's get together, I'll come over. And I didn't even want to go to my mother-in-law's house. That's how much I was like, so I said, I'm going to have something at my house. I'll have people over. And so I don't remember all the family members that came over.
That probably felt big too, right? Because you're depressed.
Because I have to pretend. Yeah. And I am. I'm pretending. Like at this point, I'm only sharing with very little amount of people that I'm not okay. But I am okay. And
I'm okay enough to pull off I'm okay, but I'm not okay.
I'm not okay.
Yeah.
So she comes over, and the next morning after that dinner, we have that dinner, everything. I had already, like days before, told my husband, I'm feeling very hopeless. Like, I don't think my daughter deserves to have me as her mother.
Oh, baby.
And he was like, yes, she does. Like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like, he was just he saw that I was trying. And that's what he says. I see that you're trying. Like, it was a really interesting space, because at that moment, all I could think was, this is not, I can't live like this forever. This is no way to live. And the following day...
Wait, when that woman came to your house, mm-hmm. the grandma?
Yeah.
The grandmama?
Yeah.
Did she see you and look at you?
Mm-hmm. And she really saw me.
Yeah, and could you feel her seeing you?
I did, and it was so uncomfortable.
That you had to get away?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The next day, my mother-in-law picked up my daughter and taking her to school because I can't do it. And as she went back to their house, his grandmother sitting on the porch with her arms crossed, looking at her and said, there's something wrong with Andrea. We have to do something, because if we don't do something, she's going to die. It's that bad. She had feelings. She could sense it on me, everything. And my husband went over there. They had a meeting. And I think they were afraid I wasn't going to be willing to do anything.
Right.
That I had fully given up. My husband comes home and he says, I need to talk to you. He's like, my grandmother says she has to help you because you're not okay. And if you don't do something, you're going to die. And I said, I'm all in.
Yeah, hell yeah. Because you already knew I don't want to live like this.
I don't want to live like to me, it was an answered prayer.
Yes.
That she came to me. Again, she doesn't speak English.
Yes.
And I'm just, at that moment, I think I surrendered. I surrendered, and my in-laws were amazing. And through translation in this whole process, there was a lot of healing work that was done. She'd said I was meant to be a healer, which I couldn't see. Like, how the hell am I supposed to help anybody?
Yeah.
I could barely get out of bed every morning.
Yeah.
This was a very long process of healing, but in the beginning, she had told me this incredible gift of a story. And its truth was that when my mother-in-law was pregnant with my husband, she had told her, we need to do a whole bunch of healing rituals on you, because if we don't, that baby's going to die. And my mother-in-law did everything she said. And she told me, I didn't necessarily believe her, but I believed her enough because she was talking about my baby.
Yeah.
And I would do whatever. Like, I'm going to do whatever she says.
Right.
So his grandmother then...
That healer lady's like pretty gruff. She's like, or you will die. Oh, well, shit, I don't have an option here.
You're not really giving me...
Luckily, I don't feel bad enough. I really want to die right now, so I guess I have to listen.
Yes. So her thing was, he is special, and we have to do something because he's, you have to do this for him because he's born, like, he's got a gift that he needs. Like, he's got a special place in this world.
Yeah.
And so what I did not know is that whenever she comes to visit, she always does a little special something of a blessing for him, and has been his whole life. And during this whole process, she said, the truth is, he was born to save you. He was born. He needed to be born, and you needed to find each other so that ultimately...
He could be here for you during this.
And that I could help you go through this. And it was such, to me, the universe speaking so loudly that I just need to surrender and let these things happen. And I was so open.
Yeah, it's like, I don't need to roll my eyes. I don't need to second guess.
No.
I don't need to make it wrong because it's not something I was taught growing up. I can just be open to what is. And what's so magical about that is that's where the magic happens.
Yes.
Like when we hold on to our old thoughts or we shut down doors or we roll our eyes or we make fun of, we're saying to the universe, because our limited brains will keep us sitting down if we let it.
Absolutely.
But as we push our brain aside and we open our heart and we open more to the world and we welcome what the world brings us, what the universe brings us, because it's all for our learning, it's all for us, then you can get the riches of life.
Absolutely. And what I recognized too, at the time, I was in such a hole that I wanted something instantaneous. Who doesn't?
Yeah, just give me like some Molly.
Yeah,
I heard that's the new hot drug the kids take.
I want something. So I didn't feel better immediately. And all the work was me doing it. There was nothing. It was all me.
Yeah.
I was hearing all this stuff, but that resistance, that old thinking that, my gosh, I'm still going through it.
Yeah.
I'm still doing the work. It's been a long...
me too.
Every day.
Every day.
And every day I'm finding the awareness and the gratitude and all the experience of it. Instead of like shutting down.
Yes.
And finding bad outlets to deal with it.
Yeah.
I think my grandest fear in this whole thing was that I really feared, once I started to feel better, started to really do things, started to trust myself, I actually believe I was worthy enough, which is a big thing that I really gravitate with you, is feeling worthy enough to be special, to have a gift and show a gift and give a gift and do all of that. When I started to feel that, my grandest fear was that my husband wasn't going to expand with me. And I was so used to him being my protector. I didn't know what I was going to look like or feel like.
Yeah, because you're shifting roles of being the victim and needing the protector to stepping into your power.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So it's been really interesting.
How long have you been kind of in your power?
I would say about 5 years in my power.
And do you think that was around the time that I came to you? Mm-hmm. So I came to you when you were, I missed the darkness. I was like, oh my gosh, I haven't seen you forever. You look great. Ooh, your house is great. Yeah, do some Reiki. See you later, friend. I had no idea what the hell you'd been through.
It was hell. And nobody did, to be quite honest. Mm-hmm. And that's the part that I think I really sat in a shame shower many, many times of not feeling I was not a good friend to people. They didn't really know who I was. I didn't know who I was. And that's really the truth in it. Like, I was just floundering around through life. I didn't really know who I was. I was trying to be a people pleaser. I was just trying to be...
That's so damn draining.
Loved and liked and whatever that meant. Yeah. And it's so freeing to go, I don't really care if you don't like me anymore. Yeah. I really feel good with me. For the first time in my entire life, I feel okay alone. I feel okay to be alone. I could never do anything alone, ever. And now, I mean, it's so different. It's so freeing.
It's so freeing.
Freeing that, I'm not, I am so happy that my husband is expanding with me. We go to therapy just to talk about that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
To stay connected, to know how to support each other. I
think we go to the same therapist.
Yeah. How funny.
You turned me on to her. I went with Dave for off and on with him.
Okay.
And then the other day I was out to dinner with a good friend and kind of jabbing a little bit at him. And he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I don't know. I feel like I'm trying to sabotage this relationship, this friendship. And he was like, why? And I go, great question. I guess it's time to go back to my therapist. I had taken a year off.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so I just started back this week, and it was really so beautiful to instantly hear the way that you're behaving makes perfect sense from the year you just came from what you had to navigate. And you're saying, do I have to navigate that with you? Because now I don't know what's, I mean,
the gift was that you saw it. And see, this is the gift, is that you saw, I need to go back and
I need help.
I need help.
I need more to do more work.
How quickly that came to you versus before, it would be like, no, I got this. I'll figure it out later. I don't have time for this. Or,
in the minute I got it.
In the minute.
In the minute, he was like, what are you doing? I was like, I think I'm sabotaging this relationship. And he goes, why? And I go, that is a great question. And I texted her right then. I need to come back. She said, tomorrow at 10 a.m. I said, I'll probably tell you tomorrow after 10 a.m.
That's awesome. How loving for you to do that for yourself.
Yes.
And that's what I'm really kind of so like this gift of Reiki when I'm with
Talk about Reiki, people who haven't done it. Tell a little bit about it.
Well, Reiki is basically your life force energy. It lives within us. It's in with all our chakras. It is kind of what makes us run through our life. We have 7 chakras in our body. They basically are your mind, body, and spirit. So they're emotional, physical. Sometimes we have so much emotional stuff, physical things start to happen in certain spaces, and they're usually correlated together. We've got a lot of problems with our knees. It's a lot of root chakra energy. It has a lot to do about feeling safe and secure.
It really is taking the Western and the Eastern medicine and combining them because really everything is connected.
Absolutely.
And my dad was a surgeon, and I love modern medicine and the miracles it can do. And I also think that we can avoid a lot of modern medicine and the miracles it can do by doing the meditation, doing the Reiki, doing the listening to our bodies, letting our bodies be our ally of what we need to do or slow down or where we need to apply loving. And I love so much, too, that there's correlations of specific parts of the body with, like you said, chakras. And also with, if your foot hurts, it means something's going on with your blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
Or my friend was here and said the back means money. Like all of these things. And I was like, it's so wonderful to know that everything is connected on the planet.
It is.
And our bodies.
Yes.
Yeah.
So this space, which is so lovely, is that I'm not connected to it myself. It's my spirit guides, your spirit guides show up. It's all spirit talking, and I'm just the vessel, and I'm really disconnected from it.
Yeah.
So one of the best gifts that came with this is that it's not mine. So when people come to me, like in 2 or 3 days, I don't remember their sessions.
Yeah.
So it's so lovely because people would come back and go, you said this. And I'm like, well, you're going to have to refresh my memory because I don't really remember any of it.
Yeah.
And it's kind of feels a little bit like amnesia, which is a little freaky in the beginning. But I'm so grateful that I've been able to clear energy out of me so well that I don't hold it. And the best part is I can actually be a functioning human in the world again.
Yeah.
That I could go to a concert. I can go to Target.
I mean, seriously, for people who are depressed or people who have the things that they can't leave their house or people who are suffering so desperately.
There's so much hope.
Get it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's not a laugh.
And I find that so many people who are suffering with depression, it's slow energy. Depression, like the body needs to move. Yeah. We need to get out. We need to move the body. Yeah. We need to move that energy. And so depression and sadness and trauma can really stop us from moving.
Oh, yeah.
And then you are doing what I was doing for 8 years.
Yeah.
Hiding, shaming myself.
Yeah.
And not having that. So I look at a lot of people, or I see a lot of people actually who come to me and very, small steps we move energy, things start to feel a little bit better, little by little. Because it took me a long time to recover. And I'm not fully recovered. That's just not how life is.
Yeah.
You're always expanding, you're always shifting.
Yeah.
And I'm always
life is happening for us.
Yes.
And we are learning, hopefully, or suffering.
Yeah.
Learning until the day we die and our journey here is complete. So I welcome the kicks in the stomach now. I welcome just as much as the wonderful vacation I get to go on or something like that. It's like I welcome all of it because it's all necessary.
It's necessary. It's teaching you something. It's really having you to be present for things that you might want to rush through. We rush through the good things and we rush through the bad things. And they're really all the same things. But I'm finding that that's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And we can't.
Yeah.
Because
you can, but then you miss your life.
You miss your life and you miss the opportunity to grow.
Yeah.
And it's going to come right back at you.
Yeah.
Because there's some things we're really meant to learn. And it keeps coming back at us, even when we run away from it.
Oh, yeah.
They keep coming back at us.
Yeah. Yeah. 100%.
And that's where you recognize when you mentioned, like, I think I'm self-sabotaging this, is you recognize an old trauma in you that was coming up because something about the person you were with, their energy, touched something that still needs some healing.
Yeah. And that's my favorite thing about when something gets triggered inside of you or there's hurt inside of you. Usually anytime you get triggered under, that anger is always hurt. And so we know that when you get triggered or you're hurting, healing is applying loving to that place inside of you.
Yes.
And if you can really grasp that concept and you can get in tune with your body and you can find the hurt and locate it and maybe trace it back to the original hurt, you can start having a little game plan to apply loving to that in a certain way, actually like a daily practice for 30 days or something, to actually heal it, to release it and no longer have to keep going back to it.
I mean, I always try to tell people, because I'll see things in people's energy that will come up and it's something helpful for them. And it usually is something that should turn into a practice. If we could look at everything as a practice and not so goal-oriented when it comes to things like exercise should be a practice. Eating well should just be something I'm practicing to do. Not so shameful, not so hard, so much more ease. More loving to ourselves. It's this incredibly tough this expectation that
Can I tell my little 2-minute morning ritual?
Yeah.
No, my 2-minute morning practice, and I call it my spiritual practice, but it's a practice. So when my alarm goes off, my feet hit the floor, I put my hand over my heart and I close my eyes and I say to myself, I'm here, I'm listening. How can I serve you today? So I'm talking to all parts of my body. So anything that needs to be like, be gentle today, or maybe today I'm tired, whatever. And then I close, and then in the same thing, I say to my younger self, I've got you. I've got you. You're not alone.
It's beautiful.
I'm with you. So that's the first thing. Yeah. And then the second, I do my little mantra that I wrote for myself. My Lord, my God, allow me to be the woman you created me to be. Let me be in service and let me do everything on the foundation of love. And then I set my intention for the day, knowing what I need to do and why I'm doing it. So I set a clear intention. And then I partner with power. I do 5 things. So I picture that there's like a really modern bench in my brain, and it's got stuff all over it that I've just dumped. But I take my hand and I take about 1/4 of it and dump it clean. And I invite God to sit with me.
Oh, that's lovely.
And to be with me in all that I do today, so that I'm with the greatest energy of all and I'm never walking alone. But I make a conscious choice. And then the last thing is I find one thing to be in gratitude for before I stand up. And I always think I want to pick different things, but every freaking day I have a door in the back that goes outside and there's 4 glass panes above it. And every day there's one beautiful beam coming in. So I go to try and think, and then I just say, I see you, God. Thank you. I see you.
I love that.
And then I get up to wake my kids up. You know what I mean? And it's a place of owning and connecting to the goodness and my power and a clarity to co-create my day, to co-create my life. No longer going, oh my gosh, what's going to happen to me today?
Well,
never again.
I have to say that what I really acknowledge from this is you're so present in this, and that you're not alone. You recognize so much your higher power, which is God.
Yeah.
And I think when we can recognize you're not alone, you have the strength to move forward.
Yeah.
When you know that, like, God's got my back.
Yeah.
God's got me.
It's funny because we can't shake God because we're made in the likeness of God. We are of the Creator.
Yeah.
The kingdom of God is inside of us. We can't shake it. We can't shake each other. We're all directly, we're all connected.
Yes.
When we suffer is when we choose to forget or not acknowledge. Yes. Right? So you're a different person and I can judge you and point at you because I have ugly shit going on. And then I'm all alone. It's a bullshit story that we tell ourselves to play small. But really, we're not alone. And the energy is always present for us to tap.
Absolutely. And I think, here we're having this lovely, like, moment of talking about our better moments.
Oh, hell yeah. But I would say the whole reason I do what I do is to let people, to remind myself and others, you're not alone.
Oh, yes.
That's all I do what I do. Because I grew up in a house with my absent mother, my father who I adored, who was gone, but beat the hell out of me when he was pissed. And then these siblings who were fending for themselves in this house of completely being disconnected and not feeling safe or supported or seen or heard, and feeling, wow, I'm completely alone. People are passing by me. They don't even see me. You know what I mean? Like I felt completely alone. And I held that story and I had my family and I felt completely alone with my own children. Like I'm alone in this. And I was like, what am I saying? What am I? That's a thought I created when I was 5.
Yeah.
I'm 30. I mean, I'm 52 now or however old I am. But back then I was like, I'm 36. Saying the thought was when I was, that's ridiculous.
Oh, yeah.
I'm not freaking alone. And then I got to seeing around me, I'm not alone. There are people here. But then I got deeper. Oh, I'm not alone because I got me and God's there.
And that's when we get that. Because I symbolically think it's interesting that I walk through this world. I couldn't do anything by myself. Didn't want to be alone at all. And I have a specific moment when I was a little girl that when I think about this really signified so much to me. We used to have a big station wagon. And it was us 3 girls and my parents. And I remember my mom in the passenger seat. My dad stopped at the gas station. I used to sit in the very, very back where the groceries should only be, not a person.
We're the youngest?
I'm the youngest.
Was that just a flatbed with no seatbelt?
Yes. So I'm sitting in the back where just groceries should be, not a person. And my 2 sisters are in the back seat. And my dad gets out of the car to pump gas. And I must have been playing with my Barbies or something. And I have the realization there's nobody at the steering wheel. And in my little brain, I felt like the car was going to go. and we were going to get killed or something. My sisters, when they talk about the story, I climbed over them like a crazy cat trying to get out of a bag, over them, ran out, and I had to stand next to my dad.
Because you had that much anxiety at what age?
Oh, I was probably like 5 or 6.
Wow.
Maybe. And I felt so unsafe. He was not in the car. He was not in control. I knew my mom couldn't drive. We were all young. So
doesn't anyone else know we're about to die?
That's how it felt.
Yes.
And that's how so many moments for me felt.
Yeah. But where did that come from? Because were you already noticing that he was an alcoholic when you were younger? Than that age?
I'm not sure. I think it's this empathic gift that I was given.
Because some of my kids have anxiety.
Yeah.
And they've had it since they were little, before I could really fuck them up. No, but you know what I mean?
No, my daughter has a lot of anxiety as well.
She has anxiety? I was like, what? But it was when she was really young. Yeah. And I was like,
I think a lot of it truly, I do believe it is energy. I have a very high sense of feeling something across the room, getting a sense of somebody's hurt.
Oh my gosh.
So I think that I was born that was the spirit that I was given.
Yeah.
And sometimes, and I think a lot of times, you're born into a family that doesn't know how to support that.
Yeah. So yeah, that makes sense.
But there's a reason for that. Like, I'm so grateful for that. And I'll tell you, most of my life I've spent, because I've idolized my father, I wanted him to be really proud of me. But I had felt like there was really nothing for me to be proud of. Like, I had a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
I was working many different places. I felt just like I was existing.
You weren't shining in a bright way for him to go, look at you, my little star.
Yes, I wasn't a doctor. I wasn't an architect. I wasn't anything that I felt should get that mattered. But I always wanted him to be super proud of me. So I found myself doing the tap dance and wanting that. And it's interesting. My ears weren't hearing what I needed at that time. It might have been there, might have not been there.
Right.
And I remember that, and this was literally like 7 months ago, I was in the backyard with my dad. He was showing me his overgrown sunflowers in his backyard. And he was kind of nervous. And he kind of I could tell he wanted to tell me something. But it was really hard for him. But he said, I want to tell you, I'm really proud of you. I'm really proud of what you're doing. And I thought that was going to be like rainbows and unicorns were going to come out of the sky and my life was going to feel so different.
Oh, but you knew you were doing your thing.
Yes. But had he told me that, I don't know how long ago, I've been holding on to that. But I recognized, I felt at that moment, I realized, oh, you're really healing. Because this felt so good, but I was already filled up.
Yeah, that's you're not looking outside of yourself for recognition anymore. Or yes.
And coming from somebody who I always wanted him to say, I'm so proud of you.
It's so beautiful he did.
Oh my God.
But it didn't crumble you because it fed your already love box
most
more.
of my life, I could never talk to that man without crying.
Yeah.
Because I was just full of emotion.
Yeah.
Our Thanksgivings at my family's house, everybody's just crying at the table. It's we're so thankful for this. And I'm finding that I'm so thankful and so grateful, but I'm not filled with that as much anymore.
It's not overwhelming.
No, it's not overwhelming.
Yeah,
I can say, I love you, and I don't have to cry, and it doesn't mean that I don't fully feel it. Oh, I feel it.
Yeah,
but
it doesn't topple me over.
Oh, because I'm releasing all the time. Even the work I'm doing with people, it's so healing for me.
Oh, me
people
too.
come to me, and I'm sure people come to you that you're like, this was so for me. I know you came for, but I'm like, oh, I feel
even in the workshop, in the workshop, it was me witnessing. Well, I do the same thing where I get out of my way and I ask God to let the things come out of my mouth that the people in the room need to hear.
Yeah.
And so a lot of my stuff in the book I didn't even do, or my PowerPoint stuff was off because I just am not trying to do anything.
Yeah.
And to witness or to observe when people soften and open and feel safe and share, or to see two people, strangers, and none of us are, crying together because of an exercise, that touches my core in such a profound way that it makes me just want to cry. Like it's like the most beautiful vision of humanity.
I think you and I see through similar eyes with energy, is that you see the beauty. If everybody could see how beautiful their energy is.
Oh my gosh.
How beautiful it is when you really feel it. When you get out of the way and ego disappears and you can see somebody for it. The hardest part is how so many people don't. And they actually can be very turned off by this because they're not ready.
Oh, yeah.
They can be very...
Well, yeah, we did the soul gazing, but everyone did it. I think everyone who showed up was supposed to be there for the moving and healing and opening.
Yeah.
Because soul gazing is an interesting thing because it's so intimate and we're so used to not looking people in the eyes or being really seen, and you can't go anywhere. You have to just hold the look. And I think it's just...
It's beautiful.
It's so beautiful.
It's so beautiful. But I think you do that going to go have lunch and you're talking with somebody and they're not prepared for that. And it can be almost like, I find people cower. It's hard for them to be seen when somebody starts to see them.
Well, my son, I tell the story about Sergeant when he was younger. He's 13 now, maybe when he was 5. I realized that I had been driving and my kids have always been talking to my shoulder. Or at my home, my computer was facing the wall. They were talking to my back. And when I started practicing mindfulness, I would stop what I was doing, close it, turn around, get on their eye level and be 100% all in. And Sergeant was like, he'd go, "Hey, Mom." And I'd get down and look right inside and he'd go, forget it. I forgot. You know, he's just this little boy.
Yes, he's like,
I forgot.
It was overwhelming.
And I was like, wow, that's how much I haven't seen them. And that's all. And I was just like so aware that's all we need to do as parents is to see and hear. That shows them that they're worthy.
Yes.
And that they matter. And they can go out with a fucking straight spine, not wobbling all over the place. I was just shoving anything in my spine to stand up straight.
Yeah.
Like I was like trying anything.
You know, and I hadn't recognized that until, it's been years now, and my husband's grandmother's in her 90s. And I remember a couple years ago, she had said, "You're doing good because you can look me in the eyes." And I used to not be able to. I wasn't. And it's so interesting too, when people feel not good enough or unworthy, they are always like this. Or some people talk. I just was talking with a woman, there was a group of 5 of us, and she was talking about really important things, right? And our heads are all here. And she spoke the whole time right here to this over that paperclip over here. Yes. And she's like, "I really mean this thing." And I was looking at her, my heart was just so heavy. Yeah.
I was just literally beaming love at her so that she could know it's okay to look up.
Yeah.
And something that I'm getting really clear in my work is how people must be connected, be aware of, connected to and own their worthiness.
Yeah.
To really own it.
Absolutely.
Or else you can't level up.
No, you can't.
And I just have been saying, like, you can go to every workshop, every retreat, read every book, fill out every journal, and it all goes neatly up on your shelf and you sit in the same chair because you don't know that you're worthy enough to have everything you've written in your journals.
Absolutely. And I think you are recognizing very much, at least I know through your workshops and the way that you speak, is that I've stopped kicking myself for anything in the past.
Oh, yeah.
I really embrace it and love it and know it all happened for a reason.
Yeah.
My whole life has panned out this way for me to get where I'm still going.
Yeah.
Instead, where a lot of people sit and I should have, I could have, I would have done it different.
I tried to say that the other day on something. Don't should all over yourself.
Yeah.
Because what happened was exactly what was supposed to happen for your learning.
Yeah.
And that whole thing that life is not happening to us, it's happening for us. Just to expand our minds and hearts.
That alone is, for a lot of people, such a takeaway to me. It's happening for me.
This is happening for me.
Everything is.
Am I going to crumble and fall victim, or am I going to lay next to it and go, "Wow, you suck it or painful. I'm going to lay with you and cry." And then what did you come to teach me? What can I learn? Because then not only am I stronger and more powerful in my worth and my owning myself, but I never have to experience that again. When you learn from it, and we haven't really announced or anything, but Dave and I have been kind of struggling for a while and heading to or looking at divorce. And what I've done in that, you know, I was feeling a victim and sad about it for quite a while, and I've kind of moved through that. But then I thought, what was my part contributing to it? Because everything's 50-50. And it became really clear the things, how I felt about myself, how I was unable to be fully intimate with him and connected to him because I still had a wall up. Like all of those things what were a part of the stew of everything that happened. So it was so beautiful for me to reflect back on my part and really be compassionate with myself about that, and also say, how can I be with myself in a new way that I no longer get derailed like I or screw things up or have walls to keep from moving together in a beautiful way. So I think it's so important to look at our stuff. Yeah, and to be in deep gratitude for everything. Like I'm in deep gratitude for it because he's my heart. I love him with all of my heart. And things had to happen just so. I never would have ever divorced or ever, but things had to happen just so that there was no choice but. Because it was supposed to happen. And then I'm like, oh, it was supposed to happen. Oh, I'm still standing. I'm alive. Oh, God, what do you have in store for me? And right now, the world is brighter and more beautiful than ever.
I'm looking at this for anybody who's going through divorce. And we hope that where you are now in this process, where is this going to be in a year from now? Like this
it's going to pass.
It's going to pass.
And it's happening for a reason.
And it can blossom. This energy can blossom into the true nature of why you guys even, like, how lovely to come back in a sense of really recognizing the energy you guys had without the marriage.
Yeah.
Now we can disconnect from the marriage.
Yeah.
And he's still the father of my children.
Yeah.
And we still are connected.
And he's still the person
that
I adore.
Yes.
That I adore. No matter what's showing right now, I know what's under.
Once you get past all of this thickness of energy, we can get closer back to you two being different people and really honoring that and loving that. Yeah.
And it's so funny because I love him so much that I do feel like when he meets his girl or he gets married or has a girlfriend, I'm going to love her because she's loving my love. You know?
That's beautiful.
Yeah.
That's how we all should.
I really feel that.
But that's because you're in the space that you're in.
Yeah.
Because
I've done the healing. And I'm not blaming him for doing anything. I mean, I heard and went through stuff, but that was just for my learning and growing. And I don't blame him for it. I'm in gratitude because he's catapulting me where I'm supposed to be going.
And you are doing the same for him too.
Yeah.
And his process is going to be different than your process.
Which is why life's
longer,
so
shorter,
amazing.
whatever. Yeah. That is the reason why
everyone's walking on their path, how they're supposed to walk on it.
And when we take away that there's comparison to the path or when it is or how long it's supposed to take, I think when we take that off, things happen a little bit better. They happen a little easier. I feel
with grace and ease and a flow.
Yeah, when it's just like, who knows when it's going to happen, but I know it's going to happen.
Yeah, I know it's coming.
I know it's coming.
Yeah. Yeah. You can really appreciate all of it, right? All of life.
Yes. I'm trying to. Again, we're talking in this space when we're at our best. When we're
And by the way, I cuss at my kids. I have explosions. I scream.
And I can be very, like, so far off my path in my advice to my friends or even showing up as a complete asshole with my husband or not be a great daughter.
Or I'll have on like a Be Love shirt and I'm like, what'd you say to me? To a checker? And I go, oh my gosh, I'm sorry. I just had a snap of my bullshit old self. I'm sorry.
But what I love about that is that this is life.
This is life.
This is life. Like, I check myself and have my awareness, but I'm screwing up all the time and I'm not making all the best decisions.
And I have to say, when I screw up, I think, why am I being a dick? Why am I wanting to get drunk? Why am I, I'm not doing my daily spiritual practice.
Yeah. I just told this to a client the other day.
We have to wrap up now. Our time's up.
Absolutely.
But you can tell that.
I was just saying that I said, I recognize I am a meditator. I do love to meditate. That was how this all began for me, this journey. But there'll be times where I get off that practice.
Me too.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like
crazy human.
And then all of a sudden, I'm like, God, I'm so like agitated, and I'm being a jerk, and I'm not patient, and this and that. And I'm like, what the? And I recognize,
I have not meditated for a week, 2 weeks.
And here I am, because life has gotten too busy.
Yeah, when we got to remember to connect to the gold mine in our heart center.
Absolutely.
Our soul, like that's the good stuff.
You know, somebody, I'm sure you get this too, when we have these lovely moments where we're talking about all of this work in, you know, an hour period. This is all the work put into one. Right. We can share it. When people might say like, I want to feel the way that you feel. And I'm like, oh, please, not levitating or anything. This is not me every day.
Yeah, I'm just having a good day because I'm connected to myself.
I'm grateful that the reason why it's so good in your session is because I'm not in it. I have stepped back.
Yeah, God's flowing.
Everything's flowing. So this is an
experience. If people want to do your experience, your session, how do they find you? How do they get a hold of you?
I have my website, which is Andrea Joy Reiki.
Andrea Joy, and how do you spell Reiki?
Reiki.
reiki.com.
Yes. And I'm on Instagram, which is also Andrea Joy Reiki. So you can contact me, direct message, email me, text me.
Yeah, get a session with her. It's magical. It's beautiful.
Thank you.
Yeah. It's nice to move around that stagnant energy and to actually allow it to release as well.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah. Yeah. I love you.
I love you too.
We've come a long way, baby.
We sure have. You missed all the shit years with me.
You saw a little of my shit. I came to visit you a little bit during my shit.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So, yeah. Well, I'm glad one of us got to experience each other's shit.
Well, you got a little bit of it today.
Yeah, I did. Yes. Thank you so much for coming. And I look forward to working with you and continuing to spread love together.
Me too.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you.
Will you hug me?
Yes.
Yes.
I will.
Darling.
Oh, this was wonderful. Thank you. You're so amazing. You are. You're so amazing. It's been so lovely to be on this journey. I know. When we used to sit and eat like nachos and tacos every day and bad things.
And just talk about how much we hated work.
Yes.
All right.
Okay,
perfect.
Thank you so much.